Namaste, I am Dr. Sriram Santi, Chairman, Gandhi 150 US Commemorative Stamp Initiative, Vice President, Gandhi Memorial, Chicago. Today I want to talk about the Gandhi and King connection, how Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was inspired by Gandhi's beliefs and practices of peace through nonviolence. Martin Luther King Jr. has said, Gandhi was probably the first person in history to lift the love ethic of Jesus above mere interaction between individuals to a powerful and effective social force on a large scale. The intellectual and moral satisfaction that I failed to gain from Unitarianism of Bentham and Mill and the revolutionary methods of Marx and Lenin and the social contract theory of Hobbes, the back to nature optimism of Rousseau and the Superman philosophy of Nietzsche, I found in the nonviolent resistance philosophy of Gandhi. Albert Einstein once said, Gandhi has demonstrated that a powerful human following can be assembled not only through cunning game of usual political maneuvers and trickeries, but through the cogent example of a moral superior conduct of life. King's introduction to Gandhi. King first learned about Gandhi as a seminary student in 1949, just a year after Gandhi has been assassinated. He soon wrote about Gandhi in his schoolwork as a person who greatly reveals the working of the Spirit of God. Again, Martin Luther King Jr. in his schoolwork wrote about Gandhi as a person who greatly reveals the working of the Spirit of God. King has always hoped to visit India, but the civil rights movement kept him too busy for years. Finally, in 1959, a trip was organized and co-sponsored by the American Friends Service Committee and the Gandhi National Memorial Fund. His wife Coretta Scott King and the biographer Lawrence D. Reddick joined him on the trip. Everywhere they went, they were treated as honored guests. King later remembered they had to turn down hundreds of invitations but still had a jam-packed schedule throughout their stays in New Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta and Madras. Introduction. An experimental life of Gandhi. Gandhi's presence in the 20th century, a century that perfected the art of extermination, is strangely arresting. His life seems peculiarly unhoused in the violent landscape of his times. How, by what twist of historical fate, did this frail, ungainly man with teapot ears and whose figure wrapped in handspun cloth evoked a faded, archetypal memory of saintliness, wander into the modern world, and how for a time did he electrify it? What was he doing there? And what can the trace of his presence mean to us today? More than 50 years after his assassination, Gandhi has become a symbol, a myth, and even a commodity. Yet we are still far from taking the measure of this 20th century's most enigmatic and remarkable personality. Confronted by the vast corpus of his writings and speeches, which include the collected works of Mahatma Gandhi, make up a 100-volume monument. Interpreters continue to quarrel, seeing him variously as a spiritual paragon, a wily politician, a psychological and anthropological curiosity, an inventor of political techniques of nonviolence and civil disobedience, and a critic of modernity. When Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated on January 30, 1948, the world hailed him as one of the greatest spiritual leaders, not just of the century, but of all time. He was ranked with Thoreau, Tolstoy, and St. Francis, but also with Buddha, Muhammad, and even Jesus the Christ. Generations to come will scarce believe that such a one as this ever in flesh and blood walked upon this earth. So said Nobel laureate Albert Einstein after the assassination of Gandhi. Gandhi's legacy includes the brilliantly waged struggle against institutionalized racism in South Africa, the independence movement of India, and a groundbreaking path of interreligious dialogue. But it also boasts of first widespread application of non-violence as the most powerful tool for positive social change. This is what was inspired what inspired Martin Luther King Jr., that the widespread application of nonviolence as the most powerful tool for positive social change. Gandhi's nonviolence was not simply political. It was rooted and grounded in the spiritual, which is why he exploded beyond India's political stage and onto the world stage for his own lifetime and for all times. Gandhi was first and foremost a religious man in search of God. For more than 50 years, he pursued truth, proclaiming that the best way to discover truth is through the practice of active, faith-based nonviolence. Martin Luther King said in his first book that was published, Stride Toward Freedom, as I delved deeper into the philosophy of Gandhi, King wrote, my skepticism concerning the power of love gradually diminished, and I came to see for the first time its potency in the area of social reform. Prior to reading Gandhi, I had about concluded that the ethics of Jesus were only effective in individual relationship. The turn the other cheek and love your enemies, and the turn the other cheek and love your enemies philosophy were only valid, I felt, when individuals were in conflict with other individuals. When racial groups and nations were in conflict, a more realistic approach seemed necessary. But after reading Gandhi, I saw how utterly mistaken I was. Gandhi was probably the first person in the history to lift the love ethic of Jesus above mere interaction between individuals to a powerful and effective social force on a large scale. For Gandhi, love was a potent instrument for social and collective transformation. It was in this Gandhian emphasis on love and nonviolence that I discovered the method for social reform that I had been seeking. So said Martin Luther King. I came to feel that this was the only morally and practically sound method open to oppressed people in their struggle for freedom. I had come to see that the Christian doctrine of love operating through the Gandhian method of nonviolence. Again, the Christian doctrine of love operating through the Gandhian method of nonviolence was one of the most potent weapons available to the African Americans in the struggle for freedom. Christ furnished the spirit and the motivation, while Gandhi furnished the method. When Gandhi landed in Durban in May of 1893 in Natal, his mission was simply to win a lawsuit, earn some money, and perhaps at long last start his career. As he left the boat to meet his employer, a Muslim businessman named Dada Abdullah Sheth, Gandhi wore a fashionable frock coat, pressed trousers, shining shoes, and a turban. The lawsuit required Gandhi's presence in Pretoria, the capital of Transvaal. First-class accommodations were purchased for him at Durban, where he boarded the train for overnight journey. The train reached Maritzburg, the capital of Natal, at about 9 p.m. A white man enters the compartment and looked me up and down, says Gandhi. He saw that I was a colored man. This disturbed him. Out he went and came in with one or two officials. They all kept quiet when another official came to me and said, "Come along. You must go to the van or the third-class compartment." "But I have a first-class ticket," so said Gandhi. "That doesn't matter," rejoined the other. "I tell you, you must go to the van compartment." "I tell you, I was permitted to travel in this compartment at Durban and insist on going on in it," said Gandhi firmly. "No, you won't," said the official. "You must leave this compartment or else I shall have to call a police constable to push you out." "Yes, you may. I refuse to get out voluntarily," said Gandhi. The constable came. He took Gandhi by the hand and pushed him out. His luggage was also taken out, and the train steamed away, and Gandhi went and sat in the waiting room reflecting. It was winter, and winter in the higher regions of South Africa is severely cold, and Maritzburg being at a high altitude, the cold was extremely bitter. His overcoat was in the luggage, which he did not dare to ask for it, lest he might be insulted and assaulted once again. So he sat and shivered, and there was no light in the room. Sleep was out of question. Then Gandhi thought. He began to think of his duty. Should he fight for his rights or go back to India, or should he go on to Pretoria without minding the insults and return to India after finishing the case? It would be cowardice to run back to India without fulfilling his obligation. The hardship to which he was subjected was only superficial, only a symptom of the deep disease of color prejudice. He should try, if possible, to root out the disease and suffer hardships in this process, and redress for wrongs he should seek only to the extent that would be necessary for the removal of the color prejudice. This day, which is the June 7, 1893, changed the course of the history for colored people, brown or black. This revolutionary somewhat pacified and strengthened Gandhi, but he did not get any sleep. He suffered further insults and received more beatings on his way to Pretoria, but all this only confirmed him to his determination. Thus, he obtained full experience of the condition of Indians in South Africa. Many years later in India, a Dr. John R. Mott, a Christian missionary, asked Gandhi, "What have been the most creative experience in your life?" And in reply, Gandhi told the night in Maritzburg station. And he said he will not describe other bitter experience in the court. Now come to King's pilgrimage to India. More than 60 years ago, on February 3, 1959, Martin Luther King Jr. embarked on a 5-week-long journey to India. Accompanied by his wife Coretta Scott King and his friend Dr. Lawrence Dunbar Reddick, King toured the homeland of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, the leader of India's independence movement. Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence and his success in ending the colonial rule of British Empire over India profoundly influenced and inspired King's civil rights work back in the US. In the struggles of the Indian people against imperialism and the African Americans against racial discrimination, Martin Luther King Jr. saw a connection and common goal of ending oppression and injustice. Chronology of Gandhi's life. He was born on October 2, 1869 to Karamchand and Putlibai in Porbandar, India. At age 13, he marries Kasturibai Makanji. In September 4, 1888, he sails to London to study law. 1891, June 11th, he was admitted to bar, becomes a lawyer, and sailed back to India after the next day. In 1893, he experienced the racial discrimination because of his skin color in Pietermaritzburg or Maritzburg, Natal. Gandhi's nonviolence is the most powerful tool for positive social change. That was Gandhi's legacy, which Martin Luther King experienced and appreciated and was inspired by. Gandhi's nonviolence was not simply political, it was rooted and grounded in spiritual, which is why he exploded beyond India's political stage and onto the world stage for his own lifetime and for all times. Gandhi had barely returned to India when legal business took him to Pretoria in 1893, South Africa. At that juncture was a polity where a bigoted white community was taking the first steps towards construction of apartheid. The racial conflict in South Africa in the last decade of the 19th century exercised a profound influence upon Gandhi. On the one hand, he reached out to public activity in order to redress the situation. On the other, he set upon an interior journey of moral exploration that was destined to make his life a quest for self-realization, as well as an epic struggle against racial discrimination and political subjugation in Africa and Asia. Gandhiji later observed of his sojourn in South Africa, here was the religious force within him became a living force. He had gone to South Africa for gaining his own livelihood, but he found himself in search of God and striving for self-realization. Gandhi's anguish at the state of South Africa prompted him to widen his religious and philosophical education through a critical reading of texts other than those of Hinduism and Jainism. Gandhi's 12 principles of humanity or spirit of humanity include non-violence, non-cooperation with evil as important as cooperation with good, faith in non-violence, accept and or quote suffering, prayer, radical purity of heart, living solidarity with poor and oppressed, have nothing to do with power, equality and tolerance of all religions, fearless pursuit of truth, trust in the goodness of struggle for peace, and pursue truth and non-violence. These 12 principles have inspired Martin Luther King Jr. to adopt in his fight for civil liberties for African American people in the United States. This inspired him to visit India and visit all the pilgrimage centers of Gandhi, where he stayed in Mani Bhavan overnight to have a transformatory night in India. Namaste. Thank you, one and all.